But I don't go in a game. I never went into the game during the streak saying, okay, I have to get 10 points. Like, I have to keep this streak going. It would be a disservice to me in the way I play the game. And it showed in how the streak ended on how I've always played the game. It's just, how can we win?
A few moments later.
I'm a guy that goes to the bench, and I like to look at the stat sheet. I like to look at, team turnovers, my personal turnovers, fast break points, what we're giving up, points off turnovers, whatever the case may be. And I look what I'm shooting from the field. Like, I like to be super efficient.
LeBron James contradicted himself in the most obvious way possible in the same interview, back to back, and somehow almost nobody is talking about it. He sat there with a straight face and said he never once thought about keeping his 10-point scoring streak alive. He claimed he never entered a game worried about getting to double figures. It was always about winning, always about the team. Then, literally moments later, he admitted that he constantly checks the stat sheet and that he always knows exactly how many points he has at any given moment. You can't make this up, why the end of this. You're going to see exactly how he exposed himself and why this matters far beyond one interview. Here's what happened. LeBron appeared on a podcast and the topic of his legendary 10-point streak came up. For context, he owns one of the longest double-figure scoring streaks in NBA history, over 1,000 consecutive games with at least 10 points. That's historic. That's elite. Nobody is disputing that. But this is where it gets strange. When asked about the streak, LeBron said he never went into games thinking about it. He said focusing on something like that would be a disservice to how he plays. He framed it as proof that he's always been team first, never chasing stats, only focused on winning. That's the perfect answer. There's just one problem. About 60 seconds later, he completely undercut it in the same conversation. LeBron began talking about his in-game habits and openly admitted that he's a stat sheet guy. He said whenever he goes to the bench, he immediately checks the numbers: team turnovers, his own turnovers, fast break points, points off turnovers. Then he dropped the line that changed everything. He said he always checks his shooting percentage because he wants to be efficient. And then he admitted that he would be lying if he claimed he doesn't know exactly how many points he has at any moment during a game. Read that again. He always knows his point total, so now the math stops making sense. If you always know how many points you have and you're constantly checking your stats, there is absolutely no chance you weren't aware when you were sitting at 6 or 8 points in the third quarter. There is zero chance you didn't know what you needed to keep a historic streak alive. Which means the idea that he never once thought about the streak doesn't hold up. He told on himself and didn't even realize it. And that's why this matters.
But I don't go in a game. I never went into the game during the streak saying, okay, I have to get 10 points. Like, I have to keep this streak going. It would be a disservice to me in the way I play the game. And it showed in how the streak ended on how I've always played the game. It's just, how can we win? How can we win? Listen, I've done some incredible things in my career. And to be able to have a streak, to be able to be mentioned with some of the greats, to be able to live out my dream, it's all just like, it's surreal to me. So, but the one thing that's gonna always be a common theme for me is just always making the right play. And for it to end in that fashion was literally just the way I was taught how to play the game, and I've always done it that way.
But it actually gets worse because we don't even need his words to prove it. We've got the film. And you know what they say. The film doesn't lie.
A pseudo-rookie before officially becoming a rookie. And there it is, LeBron James does get to double figures with a step-back three ball.
The Lakers were getting absolutely destroyed. We're talking nearly down 30 in the fourth quarter. This wasn't competitive. This wasn't leave your starters in for a miracle run. This game was over. Phoenix had already zipped the body bag and was picking out the casket. Why was LeBron still on the floor? If it's always about winning, if personal stats never cross his mind, why is he playing in pure garbage time when the outcome is already decided? I'll tell you why: because he needed his points. He hit a step-back three to reach double figures. The announcers even called it out. They knew what was happening. Everyone watching knew what was happening. The only person who supposedly didn't know was LeBron. At least, that's the story he wants us to believe. He took 17 shots in a blowout loss. 17. Does that sound like someone who wasn't thinking about personal numbers? Does that sound like someone whose only focus was winning? Because where I'm from, winning usually means resting your superstar when you're down 30, so he's fresh for the next game, not letting him chuck shots to protect a streak. And here's the thing. This wouldn't even be a big deal if he just owned it. If LeBron came out and said, "Yeah, the streak mattered to me. I wanted to keep it alive. I'm competitive." Nobody would have had a problem. That's respectable. That's honest. That's what great competitors do. But that's not what he did. Instead, he built this whole narrative about being selfless, about never thinking about individual stats, about always putting the team first, and then contradicted himself in the same interview. And that's what frustrates people. Not the stat chasing, the storytelling. And this isn't new. There's a pattern. Remember when he claimed he had no idea Kobe dropped 81? Said he was at a movie theater and completely missed it. You're telling me the most connected player in basketball, a guy constantly compared to Kobe, somehow missed the second highest scoring game in NBA history? Nobody texted him. His phone never buzzed. Come on, daughter, the time he claimed he had never heard of Migos. During their absolute peak, while photos existed of him literally hanging out with them at the same events, in the same circles. Same pattern every time. Create the narrative, get caught. Never acknowledge it, fans defend it, we move on. Then it happens again. Which brings us to the real issue, the people around him. LeBron is surrounded by people who won't challenge him. People who won't say, "Bro, that doesn't make sense." Their livelihoods depend on staying in his good graces. Access means agreement. You think anyone in that circle is pulling him aside saying, "You definitely chased that streak, we all saw it, just own it"? No chance. When you're never challenged, you start believing your own narratives. You start thinking whatever you say becomes truth, because in your world, everything gets co-signed. And that's how you end up claiming you never cared about a streak, while openly admitting you always know your stats. That's not confusion, that's contradiction.
I'm a guy that goes to the bench and I like to look at the stat sheet. I like to look at, team turnovers, my personal turnovers, fast break points, what we're giving up, points off turnovers, whatever the case may be. And I look what I'm shooting from the field. Like I like to be super efficient. I would be lying to say that I don't know how many points I have at any given moment of the game.
That he always knows exactly how many points he has at any given moment. Now let's talk about the fanboys, because they're a phenomenon all on their own. And I say this with love, because I used to be one. I was at the 2016 parade in Cleveland, shirt off, voice gone, tears in my eyes. I was deep in it. So I understand the psychology. I get why it's hard to see certain things when you've invested years of emotion into a player. When you've defended someone for a decade, argued with friends, family, and strangers online, built part of your identity around riding for them. Admitting they're wrong starts to feel like admitting you were wrong. And nobody likes that, so instead of looking at the evidence objectively, you explain it away, you make excuses. You attack the people pointing it out. You do everything except engage with the facts. And I'm not saying this to be disrespectful, I'm saying it because at some point you have to ask yourself, are you defending the player or your own ego? Are you mad because someone disrespected LeBron, or because someone challenged a belief you've held on to for years? That discomfort you feel, that's your brain fighting new information. IT wants to protect what it already believes. That's human nature. But growth comes from pushing past that. And this whole situation really comes down to one thing: honesty. LeBron could have been honest and nobody would have cared. He could have said, "Yeah, the streak mattered to me. I was proud of it. When I was close to 10, I made sure I got there." Everyone would have nodded and moved on. Because that's what competitors do. Jordan was obsessed with stats and owned it. Kobe chased numbers and owned it. They didn't pretend to be above it. They embraced it. And that authenticity is why fans respected them even more. So why does LeBron feel the need to build these narratives? Why does he need to be seen as the selfless guy who never thinks about personal achievements when the film and his own words say otherwise? That's what creates backlash. Not the streak. Not the stat chasing, it's the storytelling. If you're willing to bend the truth about something this simple, what else are you bending? And to be clear, this isn't about saying LeBron isn't great, that he's one of the greatest ever. That's not in question. But greatness on the court doesn't make you immune from accountability off of it. You can respect someone's game and call out their nonsense. Both can coexist. Here's the reality. He said he never thought about the 10-point streak. He admitted he always checks his stats. He stayed in blowouts to get his points. He took 17 shots in the game the streak ended, and we're supposed to believe the streak never crossed his mind. The evidence is right there. His words, his actions, he told on himself. And whether he realizes it or not, the internet remembers. The clips get saved. The contradictions get archived. So now I want to hear from you. Is the contradiction obvious, or am I reaching? Have you noticed this pattern before? And if you're a LeBron fan, I genuinely want your perspective. How do you explain the stat sheet admission followed by the claim that he never thought about his points? Drop a like if this made you think. Subscribe if you want more breakdowns like this. And I'll catch you in the next one.